塔图姆、哈利伯顿、马克西与切特的训练师德鲁·汉伦有什么秘密 ？NBA 球员们为什么会选择他？他又为什么能帮助球员提高
I was like, Jayson, you got a chance to be special. Like, if we do this right, like one day you might have a chance to be like a top 10 player all time. They saw me being the kind of guy that was, in charge of turning Tyrese's season around this year. But that's what I do. My job is to help these players get to levels they can't get to themselves. Maxey was just tying his shoes up. He had not stretched out. He had not warmed up. And I said, how many threes do you think you can make out of 50 if you didn't warm up? He's never been an all-star. He wants to be an all-star. He wants to win multiple championships. He wants to win Defensive Player of the Year. He wants to win all these things just because he's a competitor. That I think that right now the one area that China needs to improve on is the training and coaching. I think that right now it's very highlight-driven and very street ball-driven instead of like serious training.
大家好，这是 Telfair， 我们一起挖掘真实、励志、有趣的篮球文化。你的点赞让我不停更新。这次我来到洛杉矶，与 NBA 知名训练师 Drew Hanlen 德鲁·汉伦进行了一次对话，聊聊 NBA 球员与他们成功背后的故事。熟悉球员故事系列的观众应该不会对德鲁·汉伦这个名字感到陌生，在之前的好几期球员故事视频中，我们都有提到过他。而我第一次知道 Drew 是因为他近10年前的 Unseen Hours 视频系列，在这个视频系列中，球迷能直观了解到 NBA 球员休赛期的训练强度。2018年春天，在 Mo Bamba 离开学校准备选秀之际，我们还聊到了 Drew。The
concept of unseen hours, I've seen that maybe 10 years ago. What's the concept like?
It's crazy. I was doing an interview and my videographer, Sam Lamone, was like, what separates the good players from the great players? And obviously there's a lot of things that separate, the good players from the great players. And I was trying to explain it because it's kind of unexplainable. I always say that they have this it factor and they're like, what is it? I'm like, well, if you don't know what it is, you probably don't have it. But I'm like, it's the ability to do whatever it takes to win. And you think about it when the greatest athletes of the world, the Michael Jordans, the Tom Brady's, the, Michael Phelps and all those, amazing athletes, when they're in a big moment in their career, they figure out a way to win. And even if they're down, they're never out. And so I started to explain it and I said, the best of the best, they kind of mastered the unseen hours. They do what no one else does when no one is watching. And that's what unseen hours is. It's the best of the best are willing to do anything and everything that they can to improve their chances of winning. And they do that in the unseen hours when no one's watching. Because it's easy to work hard when everyone's watching. It's easy to play hard when the game's on and the TV cameras are there and fans are in this section. But like when you wake up early in the morning and it's cold outside, it's raining, it's snowing, you don't feel like getting out of bed, you're already a multi-millionaire, you're already a star, you're a celebrity, are you still going to wake up? When you get to the gym, are you still going to do your prehab and rehab? Are you still going to do the weightlifting that you said you were going to do? Are you going to go as hard as you can and as purposeful as you can in your skill workout? Are you going to do all the extra things that are unrequired so that you can get the results that no one else is capable of? And so that's a long way to say that the unseen hours are what do you do when no one's watching? Because ultimately that's going to determine the results you get when everyone's watching.
Actually, I've you come up with the idea actually before the era that like every workout is filmed. So there are a lot of unseen hours at that time.
100%. It's funny because I came up with unseen hours and then we released the show called Unseen Hours. And every single time I posted on YouTube, there'd be 100 fans that say, well, now they're seen hours because we're watching them. And I said, while you are watching some of the hours that we put in, there's so many countless hours that you don't see. You don't see the late night film sessions. You don't see the analytics. You don't see the heart-to-heart conversations. You don't see the stresses and struggles and the whiteboard sessions where we're planning out how to fix things that are going wrong or how to keep doing things that are going right. And so there's so much that goes on behind the scenes so that they can get the results that they want. But that's truly what Unseen Hours is. It's about doing anything and everything you can, regardless if you like doing those things or not, so that you can get the results that you want.
Actually, I got to know you because of Unseen Hours, the documentaries.
Yep.
So I went to University of Texas with Mo Bamba. We were in the same class. So before he left the college to go to the NBA draft, the very last day we met and we have a 10-minute talk. I said, maybe you need to work out with Drew Hanlen. So a few days later, I saw the picture he posted, with you and Joel Embiid, courtside, right?
Yeah.
You still remember? So we start his like pre-draft workout with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things. One of the things that makes Pure Sweat Fam so special is that I'm not only able to, do the high-level skills training and all the film breakdowns and analytics and be able to push them and encourage them and motivate them, from their minds and their emotions and stuff like that. But also, I have such a great group of guys that are able to push each other. And so anytime we have these young players entering the draft, first thing that I do is I throw them in the fire. I remember RJ Barrett's first pre-draft workout. I threw him out there and was like, hey, listen, you're doing all this kind of stuff, but you also need to be able to compete against the Jayson Tatums and the Joel Embiids so then I let them start playing one-on-one against those guys. And early on, they realized there's a big gap between where they are and where they want to be. And that's kind of part of it. I think that so many times these top-ranked players, they're always the best in their class. They're dominating their competition. And so the thing that I love doing is humbling them right away so that they do buy into the process of getting better. And over time, it starts out as a frustrating process, but over time, they get better and better and closer to where they ultimately want to become.
Yeah. Yeah. Later on, I'm going to talk about more about the one-on-one session.
Of course.
Yeah. So actually, I got to know you before, I think, 2017. So after that, like 4 years ago, I started my channel. And after I started posting my videos, you featured in some of my videos.
I love that. I love that.
I got Jayson Tatum documentary here. 13-year Jayson Tatum become your...
of course. 13 was when we started,
And here you are.
That's amazing. I love
and
that.
This is the documentary of Tyrese Haliburton.
I love that.
You helped him took the lead, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
No, these are awesome. I think that's one of the coolest things about the modern NBA is, back in the day, you didn't really get to know the players off the court. You might have inside the NBA did a great job. Ahmad Rashad would interview guys. But outside of those 3 to 5 minute interviews, you really didn't know what was going on during the off season or, outside of the basketball court. And now because of, people like yourself that make videos and so many content creators, I think we, fans get to connect and learn a lot more about what goes on a daily basis of their favorite, star players.
德鲁汉伦出生并成长于密苏里州的圣路易斯。高中时，17岁的 Drew 赢得州冠军，成为密苏里州年度最佳球员。2008年暑假，年仅14岁的布拉德利·比尔开始跟随德鲁汉伦训练，成为了 Drew 的第一个客户。在 Drew 的训练下，比尔完成了飞跃。高一场均不到10分的比尔，在暑假回来的第2场比赛就砍下51分。高二，他场均得到25分，一举成为5星级高中生。高中毕业 ，Drew 来到 NCAA D1 的贝尔蒙特大学打球。2009年，大二的 Drew 成为了 NBA 金州勇士队的球员大卫里的训练师。那个赛季，勇士队迎来了一位新秀史蒂芬·库里，也是在那个赛季，大卫里职业生涯第一次进入 NBA 全明星。
Let's go back to the origin. You are the former basketball player. In high school, you were the Missouri Player of the Year.
Yep.
Yeah, and in college, as a Bruin,
yep.
You as a senior, you are the All ASUN Conference player in the first roster, right?
Yeah, so it's fun. I think that really my journey as a trainer really was just because I was a really hardworking player. When I was younger, when I was in 6th grade, I started waking up before school and shooting 500 shots a day. And I gave up sweets when I was 12 years old. I think no candy, no ice cream, no soda as a 12-year-old, and I didn't have anything until I was done playing college basketball. So I went 10 years, no soda, no candy, no sweets, no ice cream, no anything. You know how hard that is for most kids? And I was so disciplined. And then when I got to high school, instead of shooting 500 shots before school, I shot 1,000 shots before school.
Every day?
Every single day. So waking up at 4:59 a.m., I'd meet my high school principal, John Clark, at the gym, at the school, 5:15 a.m. We shoot 1,000 shots before school every day. And then I would still go to class, and then I would lift weights, then I would practice, and then I'd go back at night and do skill workouts. And so, for me, it was like, man, Drew's got really good as a player because he's worked really, really hard. And then when I started working out players, like Brad Beal was my first, notable player. He was a 13-year-old player in St. Louis. And he was averaging 8 points a game as a freshman. We started working out, and that next year, his second game, he had over 50 points. Everyone was like, what did you do this summer? And he's like, I was working with Drew. Now, the truth is, he worked really hard with his mom and dad to establish his fundamentals at an early age. He was lifting weights with his brothers, who were all football players in college, so they were getting him a lot stronger. He had hit a little bit of a growth spurt. He grew a couple inches, but I was the new component. And so then once his skills developed and he started, seeing his improvement, other people wanted to do the exact same thing. And so that's to me what my job really is. It's about being like a GPS. I always say when you get in your car and you don't know where you're going or don't know how to get there, what do? You say, hey, GPS, here's where I'm at. Here's where I want to go. Tell me how to get there. Mm-hmm. And that's what players do with me. They say, hey, Drew, here's where I'm at as a player. Here's where I want to get to. I don't know how to get there. And I put the most efficient and effective way to get them there. And if they get off the course, I reroute them back on course just like a GPS would do for a car.
Yeah, actually, I heard this story from your podcast. GPS Your Success.
Yep.
In 2009, you got your NBA client, David Lee.
Yep.
And in that season, he became an NBA All-Star.
Yeah.
How you made that? At that time, you're still a college student.
It's crazy because I remember having a conversation with Steph Curry. Yeah. So Steph had just signed his 4-year, $44 million deal. At the time, he was really excited because he had ankle problems. And so no one knew that he was going to become one of the best, players of this generation. And I remember we were at Cheesecake Factory and David was asking him, he was like, hey, are you going to go to Drew's opening night game? And he's like, Belmont plays against Duke. And he's like, I didn't know you coached college. Steph said that to me. And I was like, no, I'm a player in college. I still play college basketball. He's like, what? He's like, David, why are you listening to, a guy that's in college? And that moment to me was really important because David backed me up and was like, hey, listen, Phil Jackson's not better than Shaquille O'Neal. He's not better than Kobe Bryant. He's not better than Michael Jordan. But he helped all of them become better versions of themselves. Drew's not a better basketball player than I am, but he helps me become a better basketball player than I would be without him. And I think that's it was a big confidence boost because, again, when I first started training David that first summer, you got to remember I was a mid-major basketball player. I was starting, but it wasn't like I was some special like All-American or anything like that. But I did believe that the work that we were putting in was improving his game. I saw him getting better. The results came. He was an all-star. And so I knew the things that we were doing were helping him out there on the court. But once I got that stamp of approval from David that said, hey, man, this is my guy, and I don't care how good he is at basketball. If he makes me better, I'm going to keep rocking with him. That was huge. But, yeah, there's been so many moments where I remember when Nike brought me in to run some of their Nike Skills Academies. Oh, yeah. And, at the time we did all the contract stuff and they paid me, and Reebok breakout camp when I was working with John Wall early in his career, and they paid me, and then they all found out that I was playing college basketball. Like, wait, we're not allowed to pay you at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Nike and Reebok, and I was still in college, but that just was part of the story for me. Was just I was doing anything and everything I could to help whoever was in front of me. And it just so happened that I was able to help, some local players around St. Louis get better, and that led me to a lot of high-level clients and some of the guys that I work with today.
Mm-hmm. So I still remember in 2006, I was a basketball fan already, and I watched the NBA All-Star Rookie Sophomore Challenge game, and David Lee got like 36 points, like 12 out of 12. So at that time, as a rookie, he was pretty good at the New York Knicks.
Of course.
So what did you do to help him to took the leap to an all-star?
Yeah, so the big thing was David was one of the hardest playing guys out there. Every single time he was a screener, he was a roller, and he was actually really good with his finishing around the rim. And what I noticed was back then he didn't have an advantage in the post. He was a post player because back then it was two bigs. But he was going up against the Marc Gasols and the Zach Randolphs and a bunch of big physical foremen. And so he was trying to bully them. And I was like, that's not your advantage. You're not stronger than them. And so what we did was the first thing we did was we established his mid-post game. He was really good facing up. He was really good with his feet. He was really good with his hooks over both shoulders. And so that was the first development. And then also we knew that with the Warriors having Steph Curry out there, being a decision maker was going to be important. And so he was one of the first guys that made decisions off the short roll. Where he'd set a screen, Steph would get doubled, or they'd throw a little pocket pass or an over top pass, and then David would drive downhill and shoot a floater, kick it out to a teammate, or make a play. And so that's what I tried to do, is I tried to evolve his game away from being like a bully four-man to a guy that was a versatile four-man that could score in the face-up or score out of the pick and pop, pick and roll. And he became really, really good at that, and ultimately won a championship with the Warriors and was a two-time NBA All-Star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's not as heavy as the traditional bigs like Marc Gasol, Zach Randolph, those centers, but he is athletic, he's quick, he got the jump
Yep. It was funny because when we first started working out, he thought that I was trying to change his game just because I didn't know how to train post players. Mm-hmm. He was like, you're just trying to turn me into a guard and a face-up guy because you don't know how to teach big guys. And it was partially true. At the time, like, I didn't have any big men that I was working with. And so I remember, I was like, David, the reason I'm doing this is because, and I showed him all the analytics and the stats and the film. And so he bought into the plan. But then that was also an eye-opener to me that I really had to study the game outside of what I just knew as a player and outside of what I knew from working with a lot of guards and wings around the area. And that led me through a process of studying more film than I think anybody. And, I put together a huge curriculum. I wrote over 1,000 pages in this journal. I typed it all up and made a book when I was in college. And I was just like, I have to, be able to learn everything that I can because I don't have the experience of playing in the NBA. I was never an NBA player, so I have to make up for that by being smarter and knowing more, not from just a guessing or hoping that I know, but actually what do the stats say, what do the analytics say, and then what does the film say, so that I could prove everything that I was teaching.
首先，我想从塔图姆开始。塔图姆是 Drew 最年轻的客户，也是最忠实的客户。从13岁开始，塔图姆就在比尔的介绍下开始与 Drew 一起训练。2018年夏天，塔图姆第一次与偶像科比一起训练，在他们的身边就是 Drew。
Jayson Tatum,
Yep.
at the age of 13, but he declined.
Yeah. First, what happened was I got a call from Brandy, and she basically was like, "Hey, I have a son. I think at the time he was in 7th grade, and she was like, I would love for you to take him on as a client." And at the time, I was traveling all around the country doing camps and clinics. I was working with a lot of high-level, like high school and college players, and then I had a couple NBA guys that I was working out. And so I was like, I don't think I have time to take on another client, especially a younger player. You got to remember how many parents call me and say, my kid's going to be the next superstar. And so normally I usually say no and say I politely decline. But she wasn't going to take no for an answer. And so she called Brad Beal. They were good friends and grew up. She actually played high school volleyball for Brad Beal's mom. And was like, hey, I need a favor. I need you to tell Drew to take on Jay. And so I think when he was, I think was 13 years old, I said, all right, you know what, I'll try it out, but I'm going to do one workout. I just want to see what he has. And I remember during that workout, I killed him. Like, I wasn't even teaching him anything. I was just basically just like trying to go as hard as I could to push him to a level where I thought might break him. And I remember him having to leave the gym a couple times. And at the time, I thought he was just thirsty or needed to go to the restroom or whatever, because that's what he told me. But he told me afterwards, he was like, bro, I thought I had to throw up. Like, I was going outside to throw up every time. And I get a call from his mom after that workout. And she said, Drew, you're going to love this. She was like, after the workout on the ride home, Jayson basically called me and said, Mom, you guys are going to have to carry me off the court before I gave up. And that's when I knew he had something different than a lot of other players his age. And obviously I saw that he had, good size for his position. He was taller than most people his age and then had a great skill set. So I was just like, man, if I could really help him develop at a faster rate than he would be able to develop on his own, I think we're going to have a special player. And I never thought that he would be as special as he is now until later on, where I started seeing how fast he was improving, how fast he was getting better. And I remember somewhere midway through his high school career, maybe like sophomore or junior year, I was like, Jayson, you got a chance to be special. Like, if we do this right, like one day you might have a chance to be like a top 10 player all time. And I remember that was a bold statement at the time. Jayson was like, do you really believe that? But ever since that moment, I really have believed that. And I still think, even though he's, right now taking a season, where he's recovering with an Achilles injury, I think that he'll get back to that level, get to a new level. And I do think that, he'll have a chance to go down as a top 10 player all time, which is something that is truly, truly special.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, like, it's been half a year. Jayson Tatum seems like he cannot wait anymore to get back on the court. So what's your suggestion? Does he need to rush up like his mentality is like? Because right now he's going hard right now. So you think he need to slow down and give up the season, or you think he's okay for this season to come back?
I've loved how he's attacked the rehab process. He's basically said, listen, I'm not putting a timeline on anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus each and every day on exactly what I need to do. He's got a great trainer in Nick Sang who's pushing him and taking him through the exact protocol that Nick and the team and the surgeon and other, specialists have put together. And, it's allowed him to improve his strength. He's stronger than he was before the injury because he finally had a long period of time to work on his body and take care of other little injuries. He's played more minutes than anybody since he's entered the NBA. Also, he's won 2 gold medals. So he's played, the Olympic summers. So he's had long journeys each and every year. And so I think this time, while it's unfortunate and while we would have never signed up for it if we had the option, I think it's given him a chance to really improve some areas of concern of his body, his strength and weakness. And as far as this season goes, it's just a day-by-day process. I think none of us have put a timeline on anything, and I think that the only thing that matters is when Jayson thinks he's ready to play. And so when Jayson says, I'm ready, he'll go back out there on the court, but until then, no one's put pressure on him to come back early, to wait. It's basically just his decision, and ultimately, his body and his mind and his heart will end up determining when he plays an NBA game again.
In one video, I told a story between Jayson and Tatum. Like after his rookie season, he got the chance to work out with his idol, Kobe Bryant, and you happened to be there.
Of course.
Yeah.
We got the whole workout mic'd up. We had, everything was mic'd up. We got it all documented. Jayson and I have watched it a bunch of times just to go back, especially now that, Kobe passed away, so we don't get to pick his brain anymore and stuff like that. But it was a really cool moment for Jayson, especially just because he grew up idolizing him. It was also really cool for him because Kobe was super impressed. We grew up, studying Kobe's film.
Just that.
Everything. We had the whole Kobe Bryant package down. And Kobe would throw things at Jayson, expecting him to not be able to do it. And he'd say, all right, Jayson, next thing we're going to do is this. And Jayson would be like, okay, toss me the ball. And he would do it perfect. Kobe's kind of wait, he's worked with other NBA players, but most of the time he has to teach them and break it down. And Jayson did everything like this. And then he would throw something harder, and then something harder, and then something harder. Nothing rattled him. He's like, well, you got it. Now the next step is just getting it, the mind to the place it needs to be so that you can be more aggressive and, take that game to the next level, which he has, But I thought it was really cool for Jay just because he got to show his idol, that I've been studying you. I've looked up to you, and for him to spend a day with him was really cool. And for me to be able to ask questions and help Jay kind of bridge the, from working on it to actually doing it, and to bridge from the guy that we were studying and learning from was a really cool day.
It's the video is not public. Nobody watched the video. Only several photos got public. But actually, it is documented.
Yeah.
Mic'd up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. One day.
Yeah, I got you. So I still remember the story when Jayson took the flight to Los Angeles. He as soon as he landed, he texted Kobe, I'm in Los Angeles. So how you get involved?
I'm with Jayson all the time. So we talked about it a lot. There were different things that throughout his career we said we wanted to do. For me, I grew up idolizing Michael Jordan, and I was like, we got to meet MJ. And so Jayson and I got to spend time with MJ. For Jayson, it was Kobe, so we got to spend time with Kobe. So anytime that you can pick the brains of some of the greatest basketball players ever, and especially people that you look up to, you take advantage. And I remember Jayson was he was nervous to send the text, and I remember when he got a text back, he was like, all right, I can't respond too fast because I don't want so he's like, I got to wait for a second, but make sure you remind me. Don't let me forget to respond to him. So it's just cool how even some of the greatest players in the world can still idolize people they grew up watching.
2021年进入 NBA 1年的哈利伯顿开始与 Drew 一起训练，而这一切居然是从一顿晚饭开始的。
Another player that I just mentioned in my documentary, Jayson Tatum and Tyrese Haliburton, in 2002, in the beginning of 2002, you got this new client, Tyrese, and when he got to Philly, you happened to be there, and you had a dinner together.
Yeah.
And 20 hours later, he got his career high, 38 points. What did you do?
He probably thought I was the biggest, jerk ever, because when I got to dinner, I sat down and I flipped around the computer and I showed him all of his numbers and I showed him all of his film, and I was just showing him all these negative things. And I said, man, you have a chance to be really good, but you're not aggressive enough. He's like, I know, I've struggled with that all my life. I'm just such a great passer and playmaker that sometimes I don't really look enough at the rim. I don't try to apply pressure as a scorer. And so at the time he was averaging, I think, like 11 field goal attempts a game. And so I said, I need you to just go out there and try to shoot at least 14 shots. I said, if you want to work with me, you shoot 14. I don't care if you go 0 for 14. You got to shoot 14 shots. Because we had looked at it, and when he shot 14, I think he was averaging like, I don't know, it was like 18 to 20 points a game. And I was like, that would be a big step up from the 12.5 points a game that he was averaging at the time. And he was like, well, what if I shoot 13? I said, well, then I'm not working with you. And I said, don't try me, because I promise you I'll not work with you. And so the next day he goes out, he was 11 for 19, and he scored 38 points. His career high previously was 28 points. And I remember after the game, he was walking back with George Liang, who was a friend of his, and you know, and he was like, it took one dinner for him to get a career high. He said, can I take you to dinner too? So, you know, but that's kind of my journey. You know, a lot of people watch the Netflix Starting Five, and you know, they saw me being the kind of guy that was, you know, in charge of turning Tyrese's season around this year. But that's what I do. You know, my job is to help these players get to levels they can't get to themselves. And for Tyrese, you know, we have worked a lot on his skill set. We worked a lot on his one-on-one and driving and finishing and all this kind of stuff. But the biggest thing that we've worked on is the mentality. And it's hard to change a player's game, but it's even harder to change a person's mind and confidence. And Tyrese has put in the work, and we've done a lot of things to help out the psychology behind his game. And, you know, it's paid off the last 2 years, 2 great runs to the conference finals and then to the finals this year. And I really do think, you know, that he had a really good chance to win Game 7 if he wouldn't have went down. He just had the right mentality going to the game. He started out really aggressive, and you know, it was so unfortunate that he went down the way he did. But I have no doubt, just like I said with Jayson, that he bounces back, and you know, we see a better version of him in the future, just because same way he's attacking the rehab process and is really excited to get back out there on the court with his teammates.
So actually after that dinner in 2022, shortly after he got traded, so he has to be him for Indiana Pacers. So he become the head of the snake.
Yep.
So as the change of the role, did you change your like workout a little bit for him, like isolation part, or like he need to like improve his usage a little bit?
Not really, to be honest with you. I thought he could have done that for the Sacramento Kings. I just thought that he was, you know, he thought that the team was boxing him in, and I thought he was boxing himself even more in. And I think when he got to Indiana, he still thought he had to be the distributor and playmaker, and obviously he did have a bigger role for Indiana. But I told him, I said, plan doesn't change. I know who you can become. You know, you can become one of the best point guards that's ever played this game. And in order to do it, you have to do this, this, and this. And, you know, he's followed those steps. I still want him more aggressive at the time. You'll see me sitting courtside. I hold up these orange bands that remind him, look at the rim, look at the orange thing. And, you know, I'm constantly yelling at him. You know, most of the time when I'm driving to the game with him before the game, the whole time I'm just, you know, barking at him and giving him, you know, different motivation or negativity, or trying to do something to stir emotion to get him going. But I think that anytime that you take off a season of basketball like he has now, he's missing it so much more that I'm hoping that when he comes back, you know, he'll be like, man, now I appreciate the game even more. I've got to make sure that I'm going out there and doing anything and everything I can to be my best version of myself each and every night. And so, like I said with Jayson, I hope we see an even more improved version of Hallie when he comes back.
So what you do is just unleash the beast inside of Haliburton.
Confidence, you boost their confidence. You also try to like drive doubt and let them battle back. You have a lot of heart-to-heart conversations. And then ultimately, I think confidence is built on proof. You put in a lot of work and you see the ball go in over and over again in practice, you're going to believe it's going to go in games. If you see yourself driving and attacking, you know, defenders in workouts, you're going to believe you can do that in games. Then when you rewatch film and you see different areas where you can improve, and then you make adjustments in workouts, then you believe it's going to, you know, translate to games. So I just think it's always about putting in more work and then building confidence through reps. I think most people want more confidence, but they're not willing to do the work that's required to get the confidence. You know, he's definitely willing to put in the work, and he has put in the work, which is why you've seen, you know, an All-NBA guard that's led his team to, you know, a lot of success the last 2 years.
就在哈利伯顿爆发的那场比赛，还有另一个 Tyrese， 他就是 Tyrese Maxey 马克西。进入 NBA 之后，每一个赛季，马克西都能将自己的球场表现提高到一个新的层级。在他的进步背后有什么秘密？
Actually, in the game after the dinner, it was against the 76ers.
Yep.
In that game, there was another Tyrese Maxey.
Yep.
Now he's sizzling this season. I mean, in 2022, Tyrese Maxey, like through the recommendation of Joel, become your client. So what did you do for him?
It was funny. Joel was joking around with Tyrese and was like, "Man, you got to get better at this, this, and this." And he's like, "You need to work with Drew." And you know, and Tyrese was like, "I'm with it. Like whatever you think I need to do." You know, they had developed such a good chemistry, a good relationship over the years, and Joel believed in Tyrese before anybody else did. I promise you, when Tyrese got to the 76ers, he told me, he said, "Man, he has a chance to be really, really good. He has a chance to be an all-star guard. He has a chance to." I was like, "You really believe that?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm telling you, he worked so hard and he's such a good kid." And so that first year, that first summer that we got a full summer together, you know, he came back, he was most improved player, you know, became an all-star, and this year's goal was to become an all-NBA player. And so far he's, you know, leading the league in scoring and, you know, doing some great things. But I think the biggest thing that stands out with Tyrese is he is a worker. He loves the game. He works out every morning at 6 a.m. He asks, "What's the earliest I can get to the gym?" And the school opens up at 6, so he's like, "Perfect, I'll be there at 6. He goes in on his own and shoots afterwards. But just a great kid that puts in so much work. And he's truly surpassed even where I thought he could get to as a scorer. And now the next part is just continuing to develop as a leader and in ways that impact winning. And I think that this year he's really grown in that category as well.
He got the chance. He took the step forward. So I remember the last time we had the conversation in a Zoom meeting. You said like at first he got one speed.
Yep.
His speed is pretty fast.
Yep.
But what you need to do is like how to dribble like inside the crowd with the physicality, or how to change the speed. So I'm pretty sure a lot of my fans are wondering about like how to do that.
Yeah, now changing speeds is so hard, especially for fast guards, because all their life they've seen a little space and they just attack it. The problem is it's great when there's no help side defenders, gap defenders. But when there's multiple defenders that are waiting for you, then you're driving yourself into, you know, tight spaces, which cause turnovers or forced shots or rush shots, or, you know, just not making the right play. You can't see the right play. And so, you know, the first thing we did was we started a lot of drills where it was like, go fast and then slow. And then fast and slow. And he was like, "Man, I feel like I'm going way too slow." Then I'd show him on film and he'd go, "Oh, that actually looks pretty good." I'm like, "Yeah." So I always say there's a difference between feel and real. When he felt like he was going slow, he was still going too fast. And so we had to change his kind of like metrodome. We had to change his speed radar. And so a lot of times I'd say, "Okay, now we're gonna play one-on-one, but you're only allowed to play at 50% speed." And he realized, wow, I could still beat players at 50% speed by using different, you know, twitches and different kind of like shifty moves. And I'll say, "Okay, perfect. Now play at 75%. Now go at 100%, but then once you beat him, now go to 50%. And we had to do a lot of drills where I was just adjusting his tempo and adjusting his speed, and you know, and then also showing him angles and how to slide and how to play more off 2 feet so that he was more under on balance and under control. And you know, like I said, there's still moments where I'm texting him after games, slow down, more off 2 feet, but he's definitely improved a ton in that category. And I think as he continues to develop the ability to change speeds and play always on balance, I think you'll see him keep improving as a playmaker. But right now, 9 assists a game as well. So it's not only his scoring that's going really well, it's also his playmaking, which is what the 76ers need most to take that next step and actually be a contender.
Yep. It's a shame that I missed this summer's your camp. I was planning to go to Los Angeles with this summer. Your camp is filled with Trey Murphy, Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, and who else?
A lot of players, all the guys we talked about. You know what I mean? That's the fun thing for me is I have all these high-level players that are competing against each other. They're working out against each other, and they're all challenging each other. And so it's raising everybody's level. But that's what I love about it. You know, you just mentioned Kelly Oubre Jr., who's having a career year right now. It's like being in that environment and pushing each other daily and locking in on a plan. It allows you to get great results. But I think that, you know, for the people listening, I think one of the things that a lot of people don't do is they don't have a plan. They just go to the gym and I kind of feel like working on this today, or I feel like playing 5-on-5. or I feel like shooting a couple shots and walking after my rebound and then check my phone. But they don't have like a plan, a strategic plan, and say, this is exactly what I need to do. I need to do it every single day. And then I need to constantly evaluate what's going well, what's not going well, keep doing the things that are going well, change the things that aren't going well, and then eventually you'll get the results that you want. But it's a long, tedious process, but if you do it right, you can get results.
This summer, you also have a 3-point drill with Tyrese.
Yep.
Could you like specify?
Yeah, so it was actually funny. NBA came to film one of our workouts, and I was trying to tell people I was trying to show some of the interns and some of the people that were helping out with the workouts how good NBA players are. And I said, watch, Maxey was just tying his shoes up. He had not stretched out, he had not warmed up. And I said, how many threes do you think you can make out of 50 if you didn't warm up? And he said, I don't know, probably 45. And he went out there and he made 45 out of 53. So he made 90% of his threes from NBA three-point line with no warm-ups, no stretching. And I just was showing everyone in the gym like how good NBA players are. Like the best players, they don't miss in workouts. You know what I mean? They're flawless because they've developed that level of talent, that level of skill, and that level of consistency that allows them just to be amazing, which is why we have to contest workouts. We have to add defenders. We have to do things to make the workouts really difficult to help raise their level of play.
Yeah, to stimulate the real game.
Yeah.
2022年夏天，还有一位球员选择加入 Drew 的麾下，他就是2022年榜眼秀独角兽球员球痴切特·霍姆格伦。
You got Tyrese Maxey in 2022, and in the summer of 2022, you got the unicorn, Chet Holmgren.
Yep.
And after he got drafted, he got the chance from you in your open gym to play against his idol, Kevin Durant.
Yep.
And reigning MVP, Joel Embiid. But a lot of people didn't have the chance to go to the camp to see the open run.
Yep.
Like, I heard there's something happened between Chet and those renowned players.
Yeah.
What was happening?
It was really cool because Chet came to me and said, hey, I want my game to be a mixture of like Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid. And he's like, you work with both of those guys, you know, here and there. And so is there any way that I could like learn from them and learn, you know, with them and learn from you? And he came to an open gym, and I had him matched up the first game with Joel. And he came down and he hit like a game-winning shot on Joel. And Joel was kind of like using the first game just to kind of like get his legs under him. And I remember walking up to Joel. Joel tells this story on a couple of podcasts, and it was pretty funny. But walked up to Joel. I said, "You realize everybody in this gym is going to walk out and say, you know, Chet gave work to Joel Embiid." He said, "I got you." And so the next game, he said, "No help, don't help." And Joel scored like 17 straight points. I mean, he'd go bully ball, layup, bully ball, dunk, fade away, Jeff. I mean, he was doing everything you wanted. And I remember afterwards, Chet was like, "What am I supposed to do?" Man, when Joel's Joel, I mean, there's nothing you really can do. And Joel gave him some nuggets and showed him how to, like, you know, improve his leverage on defense and do some things. But, you know, Chet was like, "Man, I see there's a long way that I need to improve to get to where I want to get to." And so we locked in. Chet's another relentless worker. Man, talk about a hard worker that loves ball. And, you know, last year winning a championship. Last year he would have been an all-star if he didn't get hurt. You know, he got hurt with the block shot.
Yeah,
but
Wiggins,
he's one of the best defenders in the NBA. A great talent on offense. And, you know, he's off to a great start this year. So hopefully he can stay healthy and, you know, finally check off that all-star box. And then, you know, the Thunder have another chance to, you know, contend because they look like they're, you know, doing the exact same thing they did last year, where they're just winning all the games that they should, and they're doing it in a dominating fashion without so many of their players. You know, J-Dub hasn't played yet. Chet missed a couple of games. Caruso missed a couple of games. So they look like they're going to be another tough out come playoff time.
Yeah, actually, I want to ask, like, you just mentioned, like, without J-Dub, Thunder still dominating the game. So what did Chet do with you in the past summer?
Yeah, I mean, this past summer we wanted to quicken his shot so that he could, you know, shoot better from the three-point line. You know, we noticed that last year he struggled in the fourth quarter as well, shooting threes, and so we wanted to really work on his base so that he could, you know, make sure that he had the power that he needed. We noticed a lot of his shots in the playoffs and in the fourth quarter were short because he was tired, he was fatigued. We also did a lot of cardio because we wanted him to be in better shape so that he could, you know, push through those moments of fatigue. We worked on driving, his balance on his drives. A lot of times he was off balance. He was so long step because he's, you know, got long limbs. but it would get him in off balance positions, and so we again wanted to play off 2 feet more, play off slides more and bumps more, and so far he's doing really well with both those things. He's shooting more threes at a great clip. And then also he's added that little mid-range game to his game, and also finishing around the rim better, and that's all because the balance on the drives has improved.
28 points against the Houston Rockets, 31 points against the Atlanta Hawks. So where is Chet's motivation since he got the title already?
More. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best always know they can get better. You know, he's never been an all-star. He wants to be an all-star. He wants to win multiple championships. You know, he wants to win Defensive Player of the Year. You know, he wants to win all these things just because he's a competitor that, you know, puts in the work and wants the results to pay off.
What do you think about Chet? It's unique, like different from other unicorns. We have so many unicorns recently. Like we have Porzingis, we have Wemby, now we have Cooper Flag. So what is Chet's difference, like between like these players?
I think every one of those players that you named has unique things about them. I think the one thing that I love about Chet is he's a two-way dominant player. He plays defense and offense, and he's able to just impact winning at a high level. You know, he doesn't have to go out there and score 30, 40 points. Like last year, he didn't score 30 points at all. He scored, you know, 30 points, I think, twice the year before, but no 30-point games last year, but still was able to contribute and impact winning. You know, the Game 7 of the finals, I think he had 6 blocks. So, I mean, I think he's just, all he wants to do is impact winning. He's really put aside his individual agenda and ego and just wants to win. And I think sometimes when you're as talented as Chet is, if Chet went and played on some of the teams that are losing teams, he would easily average 25 points, maybe 13 to 15 rebounds and 3 to 5 assists a game. And he'd be an all-star and everybody'd say, wow, look at this guy. But he doesn't care about individual. He cares about impacting team success. And so I think that's what stands out to me is that he really just wants to win. And he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. And while it is, you know, sometimes frustrating for to see how fans react, because sometimes fans only look at box scores and stats, he knows the impact that he has on winning, and that's what he ultimately wants to do.
去年 Drew 撰写了一本著作 Stop Bullshitting Yourself， 这本书成为了 USA Today 的畅销书。
So you are known as a basketball trainer, but now you have another identity. You got the USA Today bestseller. You got the book, Stop Bullshitting Yourself.
Yep.
I haven't got the book because I'm in China. So what does the book say?
Yeah, so I mean, it's great. I'm going to give you a copy after this. It'll be good, yeah. But, you know, the book was basically, for years, I've helped NBA players eliminate the things that are holding them back so that they can ultimately get to where they want to get to. And that's what the book does. It lays out the exact formula that I use for my clients and for people that I coach in business, and then also just everyday people, you know? And so that's what I think it's all about. I think it's hard for people to get to another level if they have certain things that are holding them back. And so the first thing is removing the things that are holding you back. Then you have to identify the gap that exists between where you are and where you want to get to. Then you have to put together a blueprint that tells you step by step how to get there. Then you have to put in the work that's required to actually make those things happen. And then afterwards is the payoff, the success story. And so it just itemizes everything, and it shows stories, untold stories, and gives you a system, and it gives you strategies to get to where you want to get to. You know, some people that might be, they want to improve their health. Some people might want to, you know, improve their finances. Some people might want to improve their game and become a better basketball player or a better athlete. But whatever you're after, it gives you the blueprint to ultimately get it. And that's what's so hard. Most people kind of know what they need to do to get there, but they, for whatever reason, don't do those things. This book gives you a system and a formula that makes it really easy to get the results that you've always wanted.
Got you.
等我看完这本书，在之后的视频中，我还会跟大家介绍一下这本书。作为知名训练师 ，Drew 基本只训练 NBA 球员。我想知道如何能让更多的中国球员登上 NBA 的舞台。
Cool. So my last section is about China. You know, I come from China, and you've been to China.
Yep.
Actually, the training, the gym, it's not too far away from where I lived.
Really?
The Falcon?
Yep.
You remember that?
I went there, and then I actually went to China before that, even with Dwight Howard. We went on a 10-city tour. You know, this was probably 2015 or something like that. But yeah, I've been to China a couple times and love it there. The thing that I love most about China is how many serious players and fans and how passionate they are about the game of basketball. You know, I did a park meetup one time where, I went to a park and we were playing street ball, and it was so fun connecting with all of these, friends that I have on the different social media platforms and stuff like that. And so, I think that China has such a rich basketball culture. And I think that as you continue to see the training improve, the coaching improve, I think you're going to see the players improve so that they can ultimately get back on that global stage. More NBA players, more college scholarship players. And then I know the thing that everybody wants in China is for the Chinese national team to get back in the Olympics.
Yeah.
And so I think it starts with training though. I think that right now the one area that China needs to improve on is the training and coaching. I think that right now it's very highlight driven and very street ball driven instead of like serious training. And I think that once they master that, I think that their skills will improve, their shooting will improve, which is probably the biggest weakness that the national team has had. And I think that'll ultimately drive a ton of success that future generations of Chinese basketball players will love.
You can always predict what I want to ask. Actually we're experiencing the dark time of our national team. So a lot of people point out our like youth coaches should improve, and that's why you open the camp for the trainers. So what do you think is the priority for like Chinese basketball trainer? You just mentioned it's not like highlight based, it's not like highlight aimed like training. So what's the priority to be like systematic, like serious training?
Starts with the fundamentals. It starts with shooting. If you look at the national team in years past, they've struggled in international competition with shooting 3-pointers. And a lot of it is just like form. You got to master your form first, and then you have to put in hundreds and thousands of reps, each and every day so that you can get good enough to shoot. Second thing is the fundamentals of like finishing around the rim, then footwork. I went over to some games, some CBA games, and seen how many travels that they allow, and they just aren't allowed to do that at the international level. FIBA refs will call that stuff, and so improving footwork. But like I said, I don't think it's as hard as some people think. I think that it just is going to take serious training, doing it consistently, breaking down the fundamentals, building those skills up. And I think that it starts at the youth level, and then it impacts every level. But I think if players are willing to commit to the boring process of getting better, which it is boring sometimes, I think then they'll have a chance. Because I think there are a lot of talented players in China. And I think there's a lot of passionate players in China. I just think they haven't got the same level of skills training and coaching that's required to get them to the highest levels.
As you said, like we got some talented players. Recently, we got a player who got drafted in the first round.
I love his game.
Yeah. Have you watched his game?
Of course. I thought he was awesome in Summer League. I got to really see him in Summer League. He reminds me of like the Jokic and Segun. Like he's got that ability to initiate offense. He's got the ability. He's got good touch. He surprised me at one dunk in Summer League where he came down the lane and dunked it. I was like, I didn't know he had that kind of athleticism. So, I think that just putting it all together now is the next step. When I saw him at Summer League, I was like, man, he's got a chance to be really, really good. And, I think that for him, it's again, getting him around the right people to push him and challenge him and motivate him. Maybe next summer we'll get him in the gym. He's got an open invite anytime he wants to come in. But I think it'd be great for him to go every single day against good players, so he pushes himself to different levels. And but like I said, he's got a great foundation, and I think that basketball IQ's up there. He's got the raw skills. Now it's just about fine tuning those skills, and then continuing to develop the NBA traits that will allow him to be a consistent starter, and then grow beyond that.
Yeah, recently he's experiencing a struggle. What do you think is the cause for the struggle?
I think it's hard just to adapt. You've seen even Cooper Flagg, the #1 pick, one of the best prospects, he even struggled early on. Yeah. I think it's just you're going up against taller, more athletic, stronger, more experienced players that have been in the NBA for so long. He's never played against this level of competition before. And so it's going to take some time for him to adjust to that. But, I think that once he does adjust to it, then he's going to find himself continuing to get more minutes, and a bigger role, and then eventually, hopefully, a starting role, and then eventually beyond that. But it's a long process, and I think fans don't like to admit that it takes a while. Kevin Durant didn't shoot 30% from three his rookie season.
40% from overall.
And Michael Jordan, I know the three-pointer was different, but I think Michael Jordan didn't shoot over 20% from three until like his fifth or sixth season. These are some of the best basketball players ever. It takes time to improve, and I think that, like any young player, I think he'll improve over time, and hopefully he's surrounded by the right people that are, guiding his development in the right ways. But I saw the excitement that he had in Summer League, and I got to watch it, and I was really impressed with what I saw.
Yeah, a lot of skill set when it works in a certain level, but when it comes to NBA level, it doesn't work at all. Like Cooper Flag, recently I'm working with Cooper Flag to tell his story, and Cooper used to like throw the ball to the board and then dunk the ball. But right here, you got the rim protector, you got a bigger man in the paint in the NBA, and they can jump higher, so it doesn't work at all.
And again, it's early on. We're judging people by their first couple games. I'm sure both of those guys will figure it out. They're both good players. Cooper had an amazing high school career, a great college career. He's a worker. He's going to figure out the NBA as well. It's early on. You've already seen, after the first couple games, he really struggled. Now he's getting better. They threw him in an uncomfortable position. They put Cooper at the point guard. He never played point guard. So I just think that, early on, it's okay to struggle. You learn from struggling. You learn from going through adversity. And I think as long as you're making changes and improvements, then ultimately you're going to get the results that you want in the end.
Actually, one detail about Cooper reminds me of like what you tell me about Joel, because you said Joel is a fast learner. Every time you just do the move, he said, do it again. Then you do that again, and he copied your move.
Yeah.
And Cooper Flag, according to Brian Scalabrine, is the same type of player, fast learner.
And those guys end up winning in the end. You know what I mean? If you can learn fast, if you're okay with taking coaching and criticism, and if you can look at it as a positive, then you're going to be able to get the results.
Cool. That's the unseen hours. It took some unseen hours to be great.
Yeah. It's fun. I think that the coolest part of my job is that, I get to help the best players in the world get better. And there's no one way to do that. It's a constant game of watching film and breaking down analytics and working on their mentality. And there's so much that goes into becoming a great player. And so I'm glad that, you did all your homework and were able to give, them some great stories to hear from. But the truth is, if there's a player out there listening, I would hope that they would understand that it's a long process. It is a tough process. There's a lot of moments of boringness that happen when it comes to development. And if they're willing to really sit down and ask themselves, where do I want to get to? What do I need to do to get there? And then the final question is, am I willing to actually do those things? If they are, then obviously they'll have a better chance of getting there. And hopefully that's what the show ends up doing, is it inspires people to actually go chase their dreams.
Yes. Thank you, Drew.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's a wrap. Next time we may talk more about your other clients. So this episode, I picked some of the players who is the focus of the league right now, but you still have a whole lot of other players, and you got some new players coming in, of course. So next time we meet, we do something more, man.
Sounds good, my man. Thank you.
Thank you.
加入德鲁汉伦训练营的下一位 NBA 精英球员会是谁？等到我与 Drew 的下一次见面，也许我们还能更加深入的了解 NBA 球员休赛期的训练强度，就让我们拭目以待吧。